Matt Rhule and company have had a successful first full cycle in 2024. Now it's just putting the final touches on before the traditional National Signing Day of February 7th. We'll get into that here in a little bit in the latest on the class. First things first, my name is Justin Adams. I'm a creator here at Nebraska Football, at the Voice of College Football. So if you like what we're doing here, please consider liking and subscribing. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think, and let us know what you want for future videos upcoming. So, there have been questions on the channel on some issues. Check the community tab for updates on any questions that y'all have on anything recently. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. The 2024 class as a whole, it's been a fairly a little bit smaller class because roster numbers still way over. The scholarship numbers still need to come down tremendously. Matt Rhule has mentioned not losing the amount of guys that they expected to lose, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes navigating the class a lot more difficult, less spots to take people in, etc. But what they've done a good so far doing is kind of really navigating getting instant impact guys in here, or the guys at the top of their wish list. And those guys will kind of weed out the other guys that may not have a spot on this roster, etc. So we'll see what happens. Need to get the numbers down to 85, and they're over pretty significantly right now. Also, why the 2025 class is going to be a smaller class as well. Rhule mentioned that just because it's going to be a vicious cycle of this stuff if they don't get the numbers down. So the 2024 class and the 2025 class is probably going to be smaller than the 24 class. So, the Elite Junior Day this past weekend, and I got into a little bit of this on the live stream, but the Elite Junior Day from this past weekend, they had 25 to 30 kids out there, some from the 24 class, but mainly from the 25 and 26 class. And the importance of this that Rhule had mentioned was to get these guys onto campus, get them some face time with the staff, and then they can set up future visits from there. And it's relationship building. It's getting these guys exposure to the campus, and then setting up officials from there and really putting the full court press on some of these guys. Some of note to mention coming up in the 2025 class in the 500-mile radius, Christian Jones, the outside linebacker from Omaha West Side, #1 in the state. So he was there. He's going to be a very important part of this upcoming class and really securing that 500-mile radius that is extremely important to have control over. Chase Lofton as well, is from Millard South, 6'5", 215 tight end. His older brother plays for Kansas State. Yet again, another one of those players with an athletic background lineage that Matt Rhule likes. He likes these athletic guys because he feels that athleticism has a ceiling and, skills can be developed. And, I 100% agree with that. And that's why a lot of these guys may not have stats that jump off the page, but what they do is something that he sees they can build from, but he just likes the athleticism first and foremost. And he feels he can work with them from there. So Chase Lofton can play tight end or receiver. And his tall, slim frame, it's the multi-position offense that Rhule wants to run. He wanted Carter Nelson, alluded to Carter Nelson potentially lining up in the backfield on short yard situations. So big physical tight ends, but he also likes the smaller, lankier tight ends that can, get up there and play wide out and be successful on the edges as well. And line them up all over. Brock Bowers was the type of tight end that you can line up all over the field. I'm not comparing this guy to Brock Bowers, of course, but that's kind of what they want to do. And each tight end with different physical attributes brings different things. Of course, Carter Nelson, the big tight end in this previous class that we're excited about. Chase Lofton's offers, though, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, Miami, Oklahoma, just to name a few. So, over 70 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns between the junior and senior year. So, very, very important to keep an eye on Chase Lofton so we can keep this kind of trend of local, really good tight ends coming in. So the last one, Jaden Woods, a defensive end from Shawnee, Kansas. He mentioned, it was his chance to reconnect with the coaches. He really enjoyed his visit. His offer list is Bama, LSU, Notre Dame, et cetera. So, it's going to be one of those things where we finally can see some of these guys that have these huge offer lists from these big schools and see how competitive we can be We won a couple of recruiting battles against top teams, this previous year, and that's something I feel like we've come up short a lot on is those type of guys. And Matt Rhule's going for it though. He's offering these guys. He's really making it a point to show that we're going to go for anybody we can, but he's also going to keep that recruiting base. He mentions that this weekend is just keeping that solid base of recruiting and not getting away from that in the modern transfer portal world. It's really hard to stick with what you know in this modern college football that's constantly changing because it's keeping up with the Joneses, and everybody wants to be land the big guy in the portal, and everybody wants the immediate impact guy. And Matt Rhule's just sticking to what he knows, what's worked for him, but also implementing the transfer portal. And he's been successful so far in landing instant impact, high caliber guys that are going to come in and immediately produce. Again, guys that had injury setbacks, stats didn't jump off the page, but the film and stats before their injury really do. So excited to see, his strategy as we continue into this upcoming 25 cycle. Let's get into a little bit of the 2024 guy to keep an eye on in this upcoming signing day, because Kiona Willhite from Tucson, Arizona. I live in Arizona, so it's a kid I know a little bit about, and it's one of those bases where Scott Frost kind of dipped his toes into Arizona. There's a decent amount of talent at the top end in Arizona. Ty Robinson, for instance, came out of Arizona. And so, there is a solid amount of talent, and we were getting a lot of that talent because Scott Frost had, his wife went to ASU. There was ties to Arizona. They lived out here in Scottsdale. And so I believe they lived out here for a little while, but he had started that base there, and it worked out with a few of the guys. Some of the guys, of course, left, but I do think at that top end, there's a ton of talent to be had in Arizona, and I think it's one of the more underrated states in regards to that. So Kiona Willhite, looking at what he does for the roster, the defensive end is a position that was very up and down this year. And so he's a defensive end, and he's the 12th rated overall prospect in Arizona, 85th rated defensive lineman. There's only one true edge rusher in this class, and in this recruiting class. And we've had a lot of other players at linebacker that I can see potentially coming off the edge. Stephon Thompson is one of those guys that, in this transfer portal class, I believe can come off the edge. But, we have that in the portal, and, some of these linebackers in the class can do that, but it's building the base of these guys on the defense that can move around as well. 3-3-5 positionless defense. A lot of movement. You see a guy like Bly Hill. Bly Hill's a more rangy, lengthy type of cornerback, 6'3", 185, 180. Those are the type of physical attributes that he's going to want to play strictly at corner. And then, the cornerbacks in the class that are a little bit stockier, and bigger physically, those guys are going to slide down and play linebacker. They're going to play back. They're going to play everywhere. They're going to come off the edge. So be ready for these positions to kind of be malleable as we go. So, but he does help with depth, and like I said, the edge rusher position was very, very inconsistent for Nebraska this past season, but showed flashes. I mean, the interior is locked down with Nash and Ty. Those guys are monsters coming off the edge, and Kiona Willhite would be able to slide right back in there, and kind of follow up their tutelage there, and just he visited with Ty Robinson on campus, I believe, and he met with Ty Robinson, and that was one of the biggest things that is key, because Ty Robinson, also an Arizona kid, came in under a different staff and is able to kind of tell him, here's what I went through. This is what I went through in my time here. And maybe give him some reasons for optimism, and really tell him the difference, what he had struggled with coming over from Arizona, those little things, those little details. So they're very smart with who they partnered him up with. I think that part is going to fly under the radar. But, he was a Washington commit before and decommitted, of course. So all this is happening really fast with the DeBoer news, him going to Alabama, Jed Fish taking over at Washington. So, he reopened his recruitment. Nebraska immediately reached out. But going through, I watched his film, went through some of his physical attributes and stuff like that. So he's got an 80-inch wingspan, 60 tackles, 18 and a half TFLs, and 8 sacks. Also a 74-yard pick six in his senior season. So that was his senior season. Just like I said, the physical attributes are there for days. He's about 6'5", big solid guy, but a big strong guy. Especially, he really can get up into the chest of offensive linemen, and he can really assert his dominance over them by just putting his hands in their chest and bull rushing them. And you see that a lot on this film. And so with that, he has the strength. You can see him bull rush through double teams. He uses his hands a lot. He's a handsy guy, but he does use some underneath moves, to kind of get free, but it's a lot of hands in the chest and it's a lot of just bull rushing him and just physically dominating him. And so there's probably going to be a little bit of development there as far as, in intertwining more moves, the swim move, ripping through, because when he gets to these Big Ten offensive linemen, he's not going to be able to just bull rush through a lot of these guys. But seeing that on film just goes to show his strength and, his strength in his base. And he's, looks a little slower off the line, but he gets up to speed quickly and he drives with power. I mean, he gets power from a short distance. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. I believe, that'll be developed as well. But like I said, just physically gifted, that all jumps off the screen, his physical dominance and his ability there. So he's visited Michigan State and UCLA. UCLA was supposed to be visiting him in Arizona this week, so we'll see if that took place. Texas Longhorns actually also showed interest, so some big fish coming after this guy as well. But stays committed to signing February 7th on National Signing Day. Some of the things that he mentioned that he really does like about the current situation, the current staff is, he mentioned the adaptability to the Tony White 3-3-5 scheme. And as I talked about before, kind of the aggressive, positionless style of offense. And he's an aggression type of player. Like I said, he likes to get into your chest, bull rush you, and just physically dominate. And, he likes that about Tony White's defense, the fit with the aggression of the defense, the versatile nature. He specifically mentioned that. It was very close to what he ran in high school, is the way he equated it. So it might be something he can immediately come in and provide some valuable depth there at the position. And, it spoke about the closeness of the relationships the staff has, not only with each other, but with the players. And I've talked about that in great detail, and the signs indicating that the staff just really has a good connection by the fact that we're not losing a ton of players. When Scott Frost left, we didn't lose a lot of players. A lot of the players still in retrospect, a lot of the talent stayed. And currently it seems like everybody's kind of bought in. And that's something Nebraska hasn't had in a while. And I think that's one of the reasons why these recruits notice stuff like that too. It's not all about big schools and stuff like that. Some of these guys have different values that they want and fit, relationships with the coach. And then I'll get into a couple more here in a second that his parents specifically mentioned that they like. So, he talks about how much Matt Rhule cares about everybody from his staff, and specifically mentioned mentally and physically just being able to get them ready, and how much he cares about them, though, not just in the physical sense, but also the mental sense. And it's, the film has him inside, outside. He's versatile, even on the line. He can play different spots on the line of scrimmage. I don't know how much he'll be able to play inside in the Big Ten, but it just shows his ability that he is able to go in the trenches and run stop. He likes to, when he gets his hands into people's chests, what he does a lot of times is he really clogs up the lanes. And that helps on the inside, especially when you just kind of can wreak havoc. And those are the things that won't jump off the stat sheet. Wreak havoc, get your defender into the lane, or get your defender into the quarterback, get the back of that defender into the quarterback. Those plays matter just as much as, sacking a guy or just a QB hurry, a quick QB hurry. So Um, you know, very good lateral movement as well. There's a couple times on film, or there's one play specifically where he comes off the edge, the running back just kind of, when he gets the ball, quick acceleration up the middle, and he's able to move laterally down the line as the running back hits the hole and is able to still make the tackle. There's another one where he's playing down at the line. The guy kind of slips through and he's able to reach his hand back and just kind of grab the guy and yank him down. So, um, one of the best things that I noticed was just his instincts. Great instincts, great play recognition. He's not fooled much by read options. He's not fooled much. Does a very good job of keeping his eyes in the backfield. Just based on the way he plays in the film, it just seems like he's always got his eyes on the ball. He's following the ball, and that's the one way as a defensive lineman you're never going to get beat on these little trickeration plays, these sweeps, et cetera. So probably a lot of things that Matt Rhule liked on his film as well. And, some of the pass rush stuff can be developed. Some of those things, specific to this defense will be developed, but great base to start from. Um, you know, really, really highly rated kid, 4 stars. So, and in talking to his parents, 24/7 interviewed his parents, and they had a lot of good things to say. What people don't realize is that Nebraska's history and stuff like that does still matter. These parents remember Nebraska. These kids hear about Nebraska, and his dad James said, let me just say this, Nebraska's Nebraska. Everybody talks about the rich history there, but for that to happen, you need a deeply rooted and strong culture. That's what we saw in Lincoln. The fans back that school, no matter what the sport, regardless of changes, they support those programs, and it's something that means a lot. Again, just another part in there about the culture and the difference in the culture and the way that's going to help this recruiting and what we've already seen it do in retaining players, retaining staff, etc. Also mentioned the fans. He's not the first one that mentioned the fans. I swear the latest portal guys and recruits, that I've looked up on have all mentioned the fan base as well. So that's a credit to Nebraska fans and another reason to keep showing up to games. But I think the biggest one is the culture, and that was something Nebraska had been missing. The culture with Scott Frost wasn't there. There wasn't much of a culture. It was just kind of a loose, too free, not enough structure, too much of a buddy type of thing. And so, and then he said, and then his parents look closely at the academics. They're number one in the nation in total athletic All-American. So they're putting athletes and scholars. Kiona is an intelligent young man in Nebraska, has the agriculture architectural programs for him. So that would be fantastic. So a lot of things under the surface that these kids see in Nebraska that we don't really see, or their parents see that we don't really see. A lot of us weren't factoring in athletic All-Americans, that type of things. And that's what I'm talking about with the players and with the parents. They have different values. He mentioned, Matt Rhule's a man of faith, regardless of how you feel, like that's something that they hold in high regard, and that's something that they value. And, he's seems like a high character kid. His parents seem, very, very in tune with what he wants and what he needs. So really good signs coming out in regards to what to expect with Kiona Willhite coming up. So things are trending in the right direction with him. He will be the biggest fish to land in the upcoming days. Like I said, there's not going to be a ton just because of the recruiting roster numbers still significantly over, but just another player to be extremely excited about. And, just with the little bit of recruiting tidbit in the interview that he did, just a ton to be excited about overall with Matt Rhule and the way this trend is going with these recruiting battles and what they're seeing in the program, and just hearing culture. The culture was the biggest thing that was broken at Nebraska, and that is the biggest thing that has improved, not only under Matt Rhule, but just under Trev Alberts in general. So credit to Trev Alberts, because it's up to the entire athletic department, not just the football program. So, all right, everybody. Well, that'll do it for me here. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in to Nebraska Football at the Voice of College Football. If you like what we're doing here, please consider liking and subscribing. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Again, future video ideas, if y'all want to check those out, just drop them in the comments. Yeah. And I will look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. I'll probably be posting tomorrow. And of course, our Tuesday live streams are always at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So join us there Tuesday. So that'll do it for me here. Again, thanks everybody for the support. I appreciate everyone who's been positive in the comments and leaving good comments for us. I really appreciate that, and it means a lot. So I will see you on the next video. Peace.